Welcome to News 9 Live, and you are watching On Point with me. A captain of the Indian Army and 3 jawans were killed in an encounter with terrorists in Doda district of Jammu and Kashmir late Monday night. This is the 4th terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir in a week, taking the number of security personnel killed in the attack in the Union Territory to 11. This is 11th terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir in the last 78 days. Politics has heated up after the latest terror attack. Jammu and Kashmir's Director General of Police, DGP R.R. Swain, on Monday blamed regional politics in the valley for Pakistan's successful infiltration into the Kashmiri civil society. He even alleged that the so-called mainstream political parties cultivated leaders of terror networks and sometimes directly to further their electoral prospects. Now, there are 3 issues. And on these 3 issues, the discussion will take place. The first is why so many attacks have taken place. The second will be on the politics of the terror. And the third would be, has LOC ceasefire become a burden on us? Because we are not able to inflict cost on the Pakistani forces. But let us play out the bite of DGP Swain first. Why did he speak out of turn on an issue which is completely political?
Many may argue that it is the fear of the state that kept the people inside. But believe me, it is not the full truth. The full truth is Pakistan successfully came to infiltrate all important aspects of our civil society. Thanks to the regional so-called mainstream politics in the valley, there is overwhelming evidence to show that many had honed the art of running with the hare and hunting with the hound to a near science that left both the common men and the security men bewildered, frightened and confused. Visiting homes of killed terrorists and expressing sympathy in public became the new normal. While elimination of new recruits to terrorism was allowed and tacitly encouraged, those who facilitated the recruitment, arranged finances, were never investigated. And it was forbidden to even go near Jamaat-e-Islami that provided the religious and ideological justification to the perfidies of the terrorists and the bullet. This was despite being an open secret that the Jamaat network was not only able to sabotage government efforts to normalize the situation, but also had a terror finance network that played a big role in mobilizing street protests. It was blasphemous to even think of countering this, who vilified everything about the Indian state and its armed forces as part of a deliberate and systematic creation and propagation of false narratives based on half-truths, out of context presentation of facts, malicious and selective muting, and amplification and outright falsehoods.
BDP leader Mehbooba Mufti slammed the DGP for his remarks and questioned the work done by him and the central government to safeguard India's borders. Mehbooba Mufti also demanded the sacking of DGP over rising terror attacks.
So, there is no accountability. By now, the head should have rolled. The DG should have been sacked by now. Because जो इस वक्त हो रहा है पिछले 32 months में almost 50 soldiers have lost their lives. Nobody is being held accountable. और जो इस वक्त के DG हैं, he is more, busy with fixing things politically. उनका जॉब है PDP के लोग कैसे तोड़े जाए, लोगों को कैसे हरास किया जाए, उनको कैसे धमकाया जाए, जर्नलिस्ट को कैसे तंग किया जाए। आपका जो पासपोर्ट है उसको वेपन बना दिया गया है, वेरिफिकेशन को वेपनाइज किया गया है, UAPA कैसे ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोगों को लगाया जाए, किस तरह ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा रेड्स किए जाए। यहाँ पर बिजनेसमैन बेचारे रो रहे हैं, कभी एक रेड, कभी दूसरा रेड, कभी ED का रेड, कभी इनकम टैक्स का रेड। हमारे जो मौलवी हैं उनको भी नहीं बख्शा जाता है, उनको ब्लैकमेल किया जाता है कि अगर आप हमारे कहने पे मस्जिदों में काम करोगे तो तुमको बाहर रखेंगे, नहीं करोगे तो जेल में डाल देंगे। बार एसोसिएशन उनको जेल में डाल, क्यों? क्योंकि वो इलेक्शन करना चाहते थे। तो ये क्या हो रहा है? We don't need a fixer here, we need a DG। हमारे पास यहाँ पहले भी बाहर से बहुत DG आए हैं, बहुत अच्छा काम किया उन्होंने। बहुत सारे जो बाहर के एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव ऑफिसर्स आए हैं, पर किसी ने कम्युनल लाइंस पे आज तक काम नहीं किया, जहां सिर्फ कम्युनल लाइंस पे काम हो रहा है।
Congress leaders from Jammu and Kashmir also criticized the BJP government and asked the centre to take accountability for the increasing terror attacks in the state.
देखो, जितना सिक्योरिटी लैप्स हो रहा है, इसकी रिस्पांसिबिलिटी सरकार को लेनी चाहिए कि हमसे सिक्योरिटी लैप्स हो रहा है, क्योंकि 2001 से लेके आज तक 48 के लगभग जवान शहीद हुए जम्मू प्रोविंस में, जहां कभी आतंकी हमले होते ही नहीं थे और वहां पे हमारे टाइम में ही टेररिज्म फिनिश हो चुका था। लेकिन जो इन्होंने वादे किए थे कि हम टेररिज्म को खत्म करेंगे, जब इन्होंने स्टेट को यूटी बनाया, 370 हटाया, वो सारा कुछ जो है खोखले साबित हुए। हम सरकार के इस कदम के साथ हैं कि वो आतंक को वहां पे खत्म करें, लेकिन जो घटनाएं हो रही हैं उसकी रिस्पांसिबिलिटी भी सरकार को लेनी चाहिए, क्योंकि इतने हमले हो रहे हैं और हमारी फौजी जवानों की जानें जाया हो रही है, फौजी जवान शहीद हो रहे हैं। इसका मतलब है कि जो अमित शाह जी ने और मोदी जी ने दावे किए थे और जो उन्होंने पूरे पार्लियामेंट इलेक्शन में जगह जगह ढुंढूरा पीटा, हमने जम्मू कश्मीर के हालात सुधारे, वो टोटल खोखले साबित हुए हैं।
I'm joined by Aditya Rajkol, Executive Editor News 9. I'm also joined by Mohammad Usman Bhatti, Research Analyst from IDSA, Ajit Kejha, Senior Journalist, Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni. But let me first straight away go to Aditya, and let's start with the politics on terror. Why did DG speak out of turn in J&K?
You know, Karthikeya, I know Rashmi Ranjan Swain for last many years, and I would tend to agree with him. You know, you can't speak out against terrorism in the Kashmir Valley if you don't attack the ecosystem of terrorism that has survived all these years. The same ecosystem that has tried to give money and tried to incentivize terrorism and radicalization, and also infest the minds of the youth in the Kashmir Valley against India, against democratic secular India. And after 370, I think the same politicians who said that, you know, Indian flag cannot be unfurled in the valley until we are here, and if 370 is removed, you know, there will be killings, there will be mayhem, there will be death on the streets. And to the contrary, the facts, the figures clearly say that in the Kashmir Valley I'm speaking about, terrorism has declined. The attacks have declined, radicalization has declined, and infiltration has declined. But, however, terrorism has increased in the Jammu Valley, especially in the last 3 years. And Karthikeya, I'll go out of the way. Apart from, you know, the politics, I would say today that the ceasefire that took place, the ceasefire that was agreed upon between India and Pakistan in 2021, it's been exactly 3 years and 5 months now, has been a disaster.
Okay.
Has been a complete disaster because, you know, we wanted common people, villagers of Kashmir on both sides to be happy, to be prosperous, to be peaceful. But unfortunately, Pakistan has used this to their advantage, and we are continuing to not retaliate, to not give them a lesson, and unfortunately our jawans are dying.
We'll come to this part of the debate because the whole structure is divided into three parts. One, why the attack is taking place. Second, is ceasefire becoming a liability? And third, the politics of the attack. But going to you, Ajit, I mean, is it surprising if this bite would have come from a political actor, it would have been perfectly okay? Coming from the DG of a state who is a bureaucrat, it creates a different connotation.
Well, Karthikeya, let me first point out that I'm extremely disturbed and distressed by, you know, the martyrdom of our jawans. I mean, we just heard the figures, close to 48 to 50 of them have been killed recently. This is really shocking. And given the fact that we just saw, you know, Jammu Kashmir elections where there was a massive turnout, right? So this turns out to be the biggest puzzle to me, what is going on. Yes, if you ask me frankly, although DGP Swain was earlier apparently, and correct me if I'm wrong, he was earlier with CID, right? He was the head of CID, and he's quite knowledgeable about the entire sort of operations, as our previous speaker also pointed out. But why did he have to openly criticize the local political parties? After all, half the Hurriyat leaders are dead, half of them are in you know, jails. So obviously the blame is coming on people like, you know, Mehbooba Mufti or let's say, whatever the other leaders. I mean, he didn't name anyone, but he used the word mainstream. He didn't have to, because that is not his brief. So that is something he shouldn't have done. It has created an unnecessary controversy between political leaders of the state. After all, Mehbooba Mufti was the chief minister of the state in alliance with the BJP. So, this kind of thing would have been better if he had avoided and stuck to this big question. Why is terrorism increasing in Jammu? From in the last, the figures that you people pointed out, almost 11 attacks in 78 days. I mean, since the Modi government has sworn in, this is the 4th attack, and in Jammu itself. So why this increase in Jammu? Is it because of the fact that the entire focus of the army as well as the police is on Kashmir, because of the Amarnath Yatra, because of the rise of tourism in Kashmir, and they have almost forgotten Jammu? Or is it something else? How come in Jammu these guys are hiding? Numbers have been thrown out by the DGP himself and others.
We'll come to that. That's the tactical and operational part. Let me go across to Usman Bhatti. Usman, was the statement of DGP out of turn? Did he say the truth, or did he overstep his boundary?
See, I will not comment on DG's post, but yes, politicians will always play politics because it's election season, election is coming. They will play politics. They will blame each and every their opponents, their adversary for political gains and for electoral gains. But we have to understand it why these attacks are happening in Jammu regions. That I can explain it to you. That
I'll come to you. Usman, I'll come to you after that. That's not the question. Okay. Let me go across to SP Ved. Sir, was the DG's statement out of line?
I think yes. I think what he's stating is a fact. What this need not be said in public, because political parties, they have their own role. They play their own games. They have voters to woo, and I think what he said is to very large extent is correct in the sense that Pakistan ISI had managed to infiltrate most of the parts of the Kashmir society, whether it is business community, the education institutions, the Liars Association, the Bar Council, the administration, whether it is police or civil. You had you name a wing of civil society, it has been infiltrated. Media, the academia, most of them were infiltrated, and that we have seen in the 90s, because they are all these are parts of the same society which actually in the 90s got affected. But I see a lot of improvement over the years in all these areas. Government has taken action against those who were actively.
Counter question here, sir. From the time when the Bharatiya Janata Party, they had a government with PDP, they tried to create new civil political actors. They did try to create. But if you look at the way the election results have come up, the people have voted for the same old party. I mean to say, you got to respect the mandate. I mean, so there are people who win elections. It's not as if Indian democratic system goes against people. You look at Punjab, that gentleman who created so much of problem for national security, he went on to win elections. But there's a process in place. There is a process in place.
Absolutely.
The former IPS officer, I really don't want to take their names, who quit over Punjab insurgency, went on to become the biggest radical, has been winning elections. So India's the word which we use in Hindi, Loktantrik Pranali, is extremely, I would say, flexible, strong, and resilient in absorbing all these strains of Indian politics.
I think that is the beauty of Indian democracy. It accommodates all shades of views. You had this not only in Punjab. I think you are talking of
Simarjit Singh Mann.
Yeah, Mr. Maan. And this we had seen happening in Nagaland, how the separatists were brought back and they became the mainstream. I think Lalthal, what was his name?
Lalthanwala and his successor Lal Denga.
Lal Denga, he became the chief minister. Then similar thing happened in Mizoram, and that has been the beauty. Even Sayyid Ali Shah, person like Sayyid Ali Shah Gilani, who was a stooge of Pakistan, did become an MLA. He was drawing MLA's pension also and salary. So it's not that we banned him. He did play the political role, whatever he had. I think that is the beauty of Indian democracy, and it actually accommodates all shades of view. Today, you have you may not agree with your Hyderabad MP, but you have him also playing his role. Everyone is playing its role. That is the beauty of Indian democracy.
And before I move on to the subject of LOC, I know everyone wants to speak on LOC. There was an effort to create new political actors. And I'm asking you this because you're connected to Valley in a much more organic and intimate way. Those political actors didn't do very well. The older political parties came back to power in Lok Sabha. If we celebrate Lok Sabha, then we should also understand where the mandate has gone. The Congress has come back. The older political party has come back. Then why has that happened? Can you put that in perspective?
Karthikeya, the entire plan of cultivating a new generation of politicians in the Kashmir Valley in particular has been again a failure. Has been a complete failure. This started even before the nullification of 370 on August 5th, 2019. There was new political parties that were created. What the Indian democracy or the Indian government need to understand is that you can't handhold politicians. You can't handhold political parties in Kashmir and then say that a new political party can really emerge. PDP has emerged in a similar way many years ago. I don't want to name the kind of organizations and characters that were involved, but I wrote an article immediately after the nullification of Article 370, and I say that the new politics of Jammu and Kashmir cannot again go through Gupkar Road. That doesn't mean I am targeting only Mehbooba Mufti and the Abdullahs. I also see the other side, that is the security, the intelligence and other characters who are involved in this entire process. So we know how things have unfolded, how hand-holding has taken place in the politics of Jammu and Kashmir, but it's also a warning signal. The recent general elections might have been successful, close to 60% voting. This has jostled Pakistan in many ways, but winning of Engineer Rashid, somebody who was vile, who was very critical of Indian constitution, Indian democracy, he raised slogans of Pakistan inside the J&K assembly. What does this really convey? The boycott vote that he really got, is this a win of the Indian democracy, or should the security agencies and others really be worried about the future of J&K?
Okay, fair enough. Multiple point of views, but let me move on to the other subject, which is India agreed for a LOC ceasefire with Pakistan in 2021, but it seems that the objectives are not being met. LOC is silent, but Jammu has flared up. Pakistan continues to use ceasefire as a weapon to pursue terrorists inside Indian territory. Let me straight away go to General Sanjay Kulkarni. So thank you so much. You have been very patiently waiting. Two questions to you. One, what is the problem for us when we say that ceasefire should stay in place?
Karthikeya, first and foremost, the ceasefire came at a time when we didn't want Pakistan under the cover of fire to pump in militant across the LOC. So in that case, one. Secondly, of course, the whole lot of fear factor which had developed among the villages which are closer to the LOC. When firing is done, casualties take place, they aren't living in peace. Now, of course, everything goes for haywire. So the ceasefire worked well. But Pakistan, as always, had a hidden agenda. That ceasefire was with a view to be able to lift the troops, knowing fully well what's going on in Afghanistan, so that they could take care, because they knew by then that things were going wrong. This Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan was creating problems. They knew they would not find their feet in it. You saw how immediately after the American withdrawal, how the ISI chief went in there, spoke on behalf, and did find that therefore Taliban and Pakistan, much that Pakistan thought that this as a deep state that they would now have a strategic depth worked the other way around, and Pakistan was at the backward. The ceasefire has actually helped. Simultaneously, at the same time, Pakistan had cultivated enough number of people. They used those weapons to be pumped in through various means of infiltration, whether they used drones, they used small boats, tunnels, whatever and whichever way they could by pumping in. Meanwhile, they were cultivating a lot of these OGWs which they were cultivating. You found within India also the kind of noises and voices that come up. Pakistan is observing everything right from 1947, 15th of August. They have been our enemy. Day one, they've been enemy. They have stuck to that, but we have tried to be nice to them. We've been trying to cultivate it, but Pakistan is enemy. There is no denying the fact. China,
should we drop the ceasefire, sir? Should the ceasefire be dropped, sir?
So even if we drop the ceasefire, even let us go that we say okay for every. What are we going to get it? We fire and they fire. So constantly find the villagers are going to get affected badly. So at least one point of view that the villagers staying all along the LOC seem to be living peacefully. We need to, of course, we have to ensure the anti-infiltration measures need to be tightened up. That doesn't mean that the cover of fire through which they were being pushed into India, that cover of fire has gone for them. But they're still being pushed into India by other means. And therefore, we need to be a little more vigilant. We need to ensure that these kind of things don't happen. And therefore, I would personally say, yes, ceasefire, definitely it has gone in favor of Pakistan because Pakistan had other ulterior motives of getting into Afghanistan and ensuring its own safety and security and peace and tranquility in Pakistan because of Taliban and Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan. But definitely it helped us also. To say that it did not help us, it did help us. There's no denying. But infiltration, as it was, it carried on. Supposing there is no ceasefire, let's say tomorrow onwards there is no ceasefire, there will be constant artillery firing from this side, that side, it will carry on and on. What is the use? If the purpose of the ceasefire was to prevent this firing and to ensure that they do not pump in and push in infiltrators. Of course, the number of infiltrators coming in have reduced. But where are they now being pumping in from? Rajouri, Punj, that is the area which is closer to the LOC. The terrain permits. The terrain is such that if we are not vigilant, if we are not careful, otherwise how else after 25 years of peace in Jammu, because I've been in Doda from 96 to 99, so I know what it means commanding a battalion over there in Doda, Kishtwar, Khatri and the entire Gundo region. So I know what it means. So we took a lot of time for us to stabilize the whole situation. After stability, the agencies must take over and ensure the security. So the human intelligence, which was must be cultivated. Yeah.
Okay. Let me go across to Mr. Bhatti. He's been very patiently waiting. Mr. Bhatti, is it because of the fact that there's another front which has heated up, which is the China border, and it is because of this fact we thought that well it's okay to have LOC ceasefire in place?
Yes, actually, as Sir said, ceasefire is provided space for Pakistan to infiltrate fresh militants in Jammu and Kashmir. That period was taken by Pakistan for infiltration. So second thing, yes, but it is also a tactic to divert the attention of what is happening within Pakistan and what is happening in Pakistan occupied Kashmir in recent days. Even today there were protests against Pakistan and there were religious parties who are pressurizing the military regime to but what they did after India removed Article 370. So after their failure in Kashmir, so I think they are focusing in Jammu region and it is relatively easier to infiltrate in Jammu region following the rough terrain at LOC. So yes, China's factor may be there because. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, please go on. Yes.
Yes. So the other point is, as if you are following the media in Pakistan very closely, they are very much worried about why people have overwhelmingly participated in the recent elections. Follow their vernacular media, their English media. So they are very much worried that since people start participating in elections, Jammu region, even Doda, Rajouri, Poonch, they have relatively more participation in the recent election even compared to Kashmir. So these factors also compelled Pakistan to increase their focus in Jammu regions. And more than that, their failure to infiltrate in Kashmir Valley also provided them space to focus in Jammu, because Jammu has, from last 1 decade at least, has remained relatively peaceful. People are democratically participating in elections. So these are 3 factors which have, I think, compelled Pakistan to focus on Jammu region.
Okay, let me go across to Ajit. Ajit, you know, immediately after the taking over, in fact, the day Prime Minister was taking over, there was a terror attack. Riyasi. You know, Riyasi, I think I was in studio, we had to shift our coverage. It's very rare when the ceremony is on at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, TV channels generally don't shift out. But the terror attack was so huge, the coverage was shifted. Do you think that there is some political messaging that is taking place? Do you think the tenor of relationship has undergone a change? And this is just a symptom of it?
Obviously, you know, the success of Lok Sabha elections, especially its massive turnout in Jammu and Kashmir, would not have been great news for, you know, Pakistani terrorists, you know, the ISI and all kinds of other outfits that operates from there, you know. So also to some extent, because it's obviously our rival government, so they won't be too happy with it. Now, to what extent this whole thing must have been pre-planned, right? I was part of the I was part of the debate on that day, and I was at that time closer to the Pir Panjar area. I remember, but it must have been pre-planned. The whole thing, these guys must have moved in the area much before the election results. So despite the fact that there must be some conspiracy, how is it possible that it is happening? And my one question to the experts are that this whole LOC is kind of Jammu and Kashmir, right? 740 kilometers. What about Punjab? There are some reports that I've read that these terrorists are actually crossing over to India from Punjab and other areas. Now, is there a way to stop that? Is there an entire terror network from Punjab? Maybe one of the gentlemen pointed out in the Jammu region. That is something we need to zero on. And this whole, you know, rhetoric by the government, "Ghus ke marenge," what happened to that rhetoric? How come there is no tough negotiations by the Modi government on this issue? Maybe some kind of pressure, international pressure, because this continues unabated, and it is very, very shocking what's going on. And the whole new trend that as Kashmir has become normalized, Jammu is becoming the hot sort of place where terrorists are targeting. That is something that needs to be, we need a strategy for that. We don't need Band-Aid. What we need is proper surgery on this issue by the armed forces, by the police, by the government, and, you know, maybe also sort of put pressure on Pakistan. Why is this happening?
Okay, let me go across to Mr. Vaid. Mr. Vaid, is a kinetic option possible when ceasefire in place? Because there will be diplomatic repercussion, there will be strategic repercussion, because both the borders are hot. Rashtriya Rifle has been redeployed in other areas. So, is a kinetic option possibility with ceasefire in place? Is it possible, or it's not possible at all? You know, the dynamics will change, sir.
I don't think there is any problem in that. Everything is possible, provided there is a will, and I think that should be shown. We must have a very well laid out strategy to counter all this what Pakistan is doing, and I think three-pronged strategy is required. We must ensure that all those action across the border, action on the LOC, and action inside the territory. I think all these three need to be taken. And as far as your question of ceasefire, as General Kulkarni said that time, under the cover of fire, terrorists used to be infiltrated by Pakistan Army. And from the firing on both sides, the civilian population used to get injured, their houses used to get damaged. So it was a big relief to all on both sides of the territory, both sides of the LOC. The civilian, it was a relief to the civilian population and even jawans. But I think with the ceasefire, later on we realized basically it actually suited Pakistan's requirement because it's getting hit by TTP and BLA and all busy on the Western Front. So I think it suits Pakistan more than India. And I think the highest authorities in the capital and army need to, top brass need to take a fresh look whether this needs to continue. And I think the punitive action must follow now. I think we had a lot of rhetoric during the election. I think there's a limit for the India's how much you can bardasht. I think it's time that India hits back. We have technology today. We have drones without crossing LOC can hit.
Is the word.
Have details of all these and also action on the LOC. Please ensure that no more infiltration takes place. Whatever it takes to do for India, we must ensure that it is brought down to zero, almost zero level, both on the LOC and the IB. That is what is troubling Jammu.
आपने एक शब्द का इस्तेमाल किया बर्दाश्त हद जनरल कुलकर्णी क्या ये बर्दाश्त की हद से बाहर है एंड क्या काइनेटिक ऑप्शन is available to India under the LOC understanding?
See, kinetic options are available, can be utilized. There is no denying the fact. But then we have to ensure that, we have to raise the cost for Pakistan. If we don't raise the cost for Pakistan, Pakistan will continue to do. Pakistan is our enemy. Pakistan is the hub of terrorism. Pakistan uses terrorism as an instrument of state policy. There is no doubt. The ceasefire was to prevent that there is no, under the garb of fire, you can't push the militant. Now, we have to ensure that there is no way the Pakistanis can push the militant. They are not necessarily coming along the LOC or the IB. They can even come to Nepal. They can come from wherever they are. They are small numbers, 67. The aim of Pakistan today is very clear. And of all these agencies which are working under Jaish-e-Mohammed or Lashkar-e-Taiba under the guidance of ISI, kill one, scare hundreds of thousands. Now in Valley per se, they have conveyed what is Valley's mindset. The moment they've elected that engineer Rashid, the mindset is known. So you can't, I won't say weaponization of democracy, but definitely a way of conveying through democracy the mindset. Irrespective of the kind of effort that we put in, the mindset is clear. Now it is the Jammu division. The Jammu division probably must have had a different mindset. Now they are trying to convey in uncertain terms that you do what you want to do, we will able. And now this exploitation, you see the kind of voices, noises that come from various political parties, various people also do not indicate. Even what you were showing on your this thing, you could see the undercurrent that so-and-so Maulvi is troubled. So it is nothing to do with Maulvi or anything. We must all be...
General, it is said now every military action, sir, has a political objective. Every military action has a political objective. So my question to you, Aditya, is, does the military objective of Pakistan and the terrorists, is it Naya Kashmir?
There is a twin objective that the Pakistani deep state has currently, ever since this new wave of terrorism that began almost 3 years ago. But in the last 40 days, we have seen almost 8 to 9 terror attacks taking place in Jammu. We've seen close to 13 to 15 soldiers, in fact, dying of the Indian Army and of course other forces. The twin objective is very clear. One is that they are pained by the successful general elections that took place in Jammu and Kashmir, close to 60% voting. In some areas it was historic voting that was witnessed. And the second objective, in which obviously General Kulkarni can throw more light, is the fact that the Pakistan Army Chief Asim Munir wants extension. His term is about to end, and he wants to show...
Why is it happening immediately after the formation of this government? I don't want to read anything. I don't want to domesticize larger strategic issue, which generally people do. I just want to understand the timing from you, Aditya. Why now?
Kartikeya, this is the best time for them. Every time, if you observe them for the last 20 to 30 years, they want to internationalize the Kashmir issue. And this is the best time for Asim Munir to show to the world, the international community, that the proxy war is continuing, and especially the domestic audience, that we are obviously getting hit on our western border. in KPK and in Balochistan, continuously the TTP is attacking every single day. As I said, even today there has been an attack in the Bannu Cant in which 8 Pakistani soldiers have died. This is what they have publicly claimed. The casualties could be higher.
Okay.
So Pakistan has been hit continuously on the western side. That they want to deflect their attention towards Kashmir. They want extension for the Pakistan Army Chief. That's what Asim Munir wants. And whenever this is the need of the hour, they try to they try to set the narrative that the proxy war, the terrorism continues, and we are here for the so-called
Mr.
Kashmiris.
Bhatti, is it correct to say that the Lok Sabha results have really unnerved the Pakistani establishment? They really didn't expect so much of voting to take place?
Yes, I agree with Mr. Aditya also that Mr. Asim Munir, the current army chief, also want extension because these kind of discussion is also ongoing in Pakistan. Yes, the people's participation, Pakistan was expecting that people will reject democratic participation after the removal of Article 370. But following the recent election and overwhelming participation of people in democratic process has alarmed Pakistan. That is the one reason. The second is within Pakistan, they just secured another IMF bailout. There is a lot of criticism against army, what is happening in Pakistan, occupied Kashmir. There are ongoing protests in Gilgit-Baltistan. There are attacks, as Aditya highlighted, in Bannu camps. So there are this is also for the consumption of population within Pakistan, that people to secure their support that we are involved in against India. Recently, there were a religious group of people in some political parties who asked General Asim Munir that what he did with respect to Kashmir after the removal of Article 370. So these factor also plays an important role. And fourth is this is also a pressure tactics to push India towards talk. Because new government formation has taken place in Pakistan, and we have a new government in India also, and they also want to create some kind of pressure tactics because there are also discussion within Pakistan that we need to talk with India end of the day. So this factor also playing a huge role what is happening in Jammu recently.
So Ajit, the bottom line here is that after 2019 till 2024, there were a lot of things to talk about when it comes to Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir, Valley, Srinagar, changes, the removal of the article, a lot of things happened. But I think it was maybe the Lok Sabha result and the popular participation, that must have sent a different signal. The shifting of the ground, as you say.
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that, and remember, since 1990s, Kashmir's turnout has been record low, right? Remember that infamous election where there was a lot of corruption. This was the Farooq Abdullah government. Since then, we had almost sort of terrible, pathetic turnouts. So this increase obviously warned them. But, I wanted to bring a little different angle to it because all the experts that we spoke to talked about the security angle, but they all kept referring to the mindset. Now, do we need to develop an alternative strategy to counter the mindset they are talking about? Because obviously, somehow they are referring to the mindset as helping the terrorists. So how do we go about it? Other than the fact that we created this record voter turnout in the Lok Sabha election, should we somehow direct the various civil society organizations in a more constructive manner rather than only pressure tactics by the police? Should the police act as a sort of what one would say cement the local population along with what is the rest of India? I mean, in Kashmir, they seems to have done that, right? Massive increase in tourism, Amarnath Yatra, lots of investments, businesses are going there. But how about in Jammu? Is that taking place? How do we do that? How do we persuade the local population, the civil society organizations that people have
Ajit, this brings me to the moot question, which is called the hard question, the basic question, and I'll put this question to Mr. Vaid. Sir, the long time you have served in the valley, when Vajpayee came, there was a very apparent open thrust to mainstream the fringe, and then Manmohan Singh, it was continued. He went twice there. I covered those two events in Kashmir Center, where he met a lot of stakeholders. With Prime Minister Modi, the idea was to expose the entrenched fringe or the political ecosystem and create a new. Has the loop closed in, sir? Has the loop closed in with this election?
I think yes, you are right. When Vajpayee ji came, there was an effort to mainstream the fringe. There is no doubt about it, and he did extend his positive hand towards all these such fringe elements, and Mr. Modi wanted the mainstream parties, particularly if you see the BJP's emphasis, it has always been on the Parivarvad, those who are dynastic politics, parties which have done, obviously referring towards National Conference, PDP and the Congress. These three parties have actually ruled Jammu and Kashmir for all these years, and they, as per BJP top present leadership, so they are generally blamed for all the ills of Kashmir. I think that strategy of Vajpayee has changed over these years, and a loop is complete now.
Loop is complete. Thank you all of you. Thank you all of you for joining me in this part of our on point. But the real concern is that when will India hit back? One, what sort of kinetic action are we expected to see? Third, and will the cost of killing Indian officers and jawans will be made very clear to Pakistan? I think after taking a very strong position on the issue of terror, when you say कि नदी में एक साथ पानी और खून और पानी एक साथ बातचीत एक साथ नहीं बह सकता है, खून और पानी नहीं बह सकता है. I think the action should speak louder than words.
Hey, careful, huh? My daddy got it from abroad. Hey,